Hey movie buffs, welcome back to Benjamin Pierce Films, where today we're delving into the intense and gritty world of John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13. So get ready for some pulse-pounding excitement, because it's quite a wild ride. Let's lock and load for this thrilling journey into Assault on Precinct 13. The story kicks off with an isolated police precinct that becomes the target of a relentless siege by a violent street gang, and as chaos ensues, the staff and unlikely allies, including both cops and criminals, have to band together to survive the deadly assault. Ethan Bishop, played by Austin Stoker, a dedicated officer, finds himself in a harrowing situation as he takes charge of defending the precinct against the merciless attackers. And Napoleon Wilson, portrayed by Darwin Johnston, is a convict and an unexpected ally, and he becomes a key player in this fight for survival. Let's break down the explosive action and gripping drama of Assault on Precinct 13. So this is John Carpenter's 1976 classic. It's not just an action film, it's a masterclass in tension and survival. Carpenter's direction keeps you on the edge of your seat as the siege unfolds, meticulously building suspense with every passing moment. The film is strong in its points, where it's raw and unrelenting. It's just got this atmosphere to it, and it's amplified by Carpenter's signature musical score, which we love Carpenter's music. I mean, everybody loves Carpenter's music, and it just always elevates the tension to these heart-pounding levels, you know. This gritty, no-nonsense portrayal of the precinct siege and these unlikely alliances that are formed within the walls definitely makes for an intense and immersive experience. Now, what really stands out here for me is Carpenter's ability to create this sense of dread and urgency, which you'll see in a lot of his other films. The plot, though, it's straightforward and it grips you from start to finish. And the character dynamics, I love Napoleon. Napoleon is this prototype character for what we'll see with Escape from New York's Snake Plissken. Everything about Napoleon Wilson is some of my favorite interactions in this movie. Everything with Napoleon and Ethan Bishop is fantastic. If they just had a whole movie where they were just talking, if they just had a movie like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but just with Ethan Bishop and Napoleon, that would be a movie I would run to the theaters to see. What a lot of people might not like about this movie is it's not as fast-paced and action-filled as most modern movies of today. The performances shine here. Like I said, I love Napoleon and Ethan. However, it's a 70s movie, and with John Carpenter, you get the title of John Carpenter. You're not getting the acting. It's like a roller coaster ride to a sense. So there's that. It's not all great acting, but there are moments that people are going to be like, that's just some cheesy, awkward dialogue. There's a part that I'll go into later where I was like, why didn't they just do heads or tails with a coin flip instead of this, I don't know, it's a game that they play. I'll get into that because I wrote that down, but that's something I'm going to actually talk about and not have scripted. Overall, though, Assault on Precinct 13 remains a gripping and adrenaline-pumping ride that stands to the test of time. While it may not, match the breakneck pace of contemporary action flicks, its intense atmosphere and engaging plot make it a classic in its own right. So I'd give this a solid 7.2 out of 10, just for its raw intensity and Carpenter's directional, his direction. Carpenter's direction in score and music is where it's all at in this movie. John Carpenter is no stranger to social commentary, I guess would be the word I'd use, and he shows it in Assault on Precinct 13, and as I kind of go through this movie, breaking down scene by scene, I'm going to try and get the research up of what I was learning about this movie, and obviously it's completely fictional, but there's just aspects of it that they parallel to the gang violence of Los Angeles in the 70s for the most part. And if you watch this movie, you're gonna notice that too, definitely. So let's start with the very opening. Let's just go right into it. So this gang just starts cutting themselves like complete psychopaths. It's a blood oath to get back to the police that just shot one of these guys in the beginning of the film. There's an entire shootout at the beginning, and a lot of the gang members get shot by the police. So there's that dynamic, because back, gang violence still to this day, there's a lot of police versus gang violence, obviously, because gangs are kind of a big deal. I'm sure they have their reasons for being gangs, but still, I think there's a less violent way to show who you are. But whatever. Anyway, So then we skip right into Lieutenant Bishop getting into his sweet-ass car and it's an unmarked police vehicle, and he's just like really eager, and he's just itching for work, and he even requests an assignment. There's like something on the radio, and he starts talking. It's really funny because we see his reaction. He's getting temporarily assigned to Precinct 13 for the night, and he's like, oh, aren't they going out of business? And they're like, yeah. So he's like, oh man, I was looking for some excitement, and it's just really funny. His reaction is like, oh great, I wanted like some fun shit happening here. And yeah, his dreams are shattered at that point, because now he knows he's going to this precinct that's closing down. There's a really cool quote in there. The guy says that there are no heroes, only men who follow orders, which is, you know, that's mostly true. I mean, like, there was just something in the news I saw about some dude at some restaurant who shot this robber. He was in there, he was pointing guns in everyone's faces, and he just fucking shot this guy, man. It was insane. He just like, I mean, the guy was just waving the gun around, so yeah, in self-defense, yeah, you know, you could do something, but the whole thing with that specific incident was he told like the senator or the mayor of whatever city he was in, or some lawyer, I don't remember who, but he was basically saying that like he did it because the kid that was at the restaurant with this guy was his best friend's son, and I guess they were going out to get something to eat before he was taking him home or whatever. So he basically told this guy that it was self-defense, and he would rather be convicted of murder than have to explain to his best friend why his son was murdered, because he didn't stand up in self-defense. I think he got off on a self-defense charge, but anyway, that kind of reminds me of like the whole, there's no heroes, but only men who follow orders, except for that guy. That guy just like straight up murked that dude, and he shot him in the back too, so I mean, that's, you know, kind of a shite thing to do. But anyway, so Charles Cypher shows up to this, he's transferring these prisoners on this bus, and like, they put a sick guy in the same cell with the other guy. Like, there's this really sick guy, and he keeps coughing, and he might be like seriously contagious. And Napoleon Wilson is introduced here too, and he's definitely the prototype for Snake Plissken. I mean, like, if you watch this movie and you see the way they act, it's pretty on point with this whole, like, it's basically, if Kurt Russell was Napoleon, it could have been like an origin story, you know? They get Napoleon into the special cell all to his own, but like, they definitely should have quarantined the other two prisoners, because this one's sick and who knows what the hell he has, but they're worried about it being contagious, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. And Napoleon just wants a cigarette. This whole movie, he just wants a cigarette, and nobody's giving him a fucking cigarette, man. Like, I'm a smoker. I used to be a pack-a-day smoker, but now I'm down to about 5 cigarettes a day at max, so I think I'm doing pretty good on the whole quitting thing. So this one prisoner has a cigarette, but he won't give it to Napoleon because he says smoking can kill you, and then they argue about it being a competition about dying. So now let's move on to the Street Thunder gang that we saw at the beginning. This little girl and her dad, or grandpa, I don't know, he seems pretty old, like, I don't know, but I mean, people in the 70s who were in their 30s looked like they were in their 60s, so I don't know, I always felt weird about that, even in movies in general. Like, I know they cast like 25-year-olds to play 17 and 18-year-olds in movies, but like, this was like, it looked like this dude was like 55 or 60 years old, and he was supposed to be her dad, but I mean, he just seemed really old. The dad's like basically telling the little girl to tell the mom that she's gonna run away from home if the mom doesn't come and stay with them for the weekend. It's a pretty shitty move on both of their parts. Like, they were planning this out, like they were manipulating the mom, because apparently there's some sort of divorce thing going on with the dad and the mom. So this girl says she's hungry, and she's gonna end up, basically, this is gonna lead to like my favorite part of the movie. It's like the most quotable part. My brother and I quote this all the time. Bishop goes to Precinct 13, goes back, and he meets the captain of the precinct, and immediately the captain starts like complaining about the crime, and it's not even like 8 a.m. yet, and they're arguing for a bit, and then Bishop says something really odd about like maybe sunspots in the ozone layer and shit like that, and like, so yeah, I mean, people were always worried about the atmosphere and pollution. Street Thunder's out basically testing out their scopes on these rifles, and they just keep aiming at people, and like, they're just aiming at random people on the street. I don't know why. You know, it's kind of sad, like, the way this all turns out, but like, I mean, they're just bloodthirsty. They don't give a shit. Then they come across this ice cream truck, and it really catches their attention, and it's never really explained what's going on with this ice cream truck driver. The ice cream truck driver has a gun, but it's like, it's LA. The car turns around, and it comes back, and the ice cream man keeps noticing this, so I'd just be the fuck out of there at this point. Like, I would leave if I saw this weird car. Anyway, this guy doesn't do that, and he continues to work. But now we're back on the bus with the prisoners, and this dude who's clearly sick, he's just coughing right up into the sky. He's not even, like, covering his mouth or anything. Like, he has handcuffs on, but he can still, like, cough into his shoulder or something. Like, it's ridiculous. He's doing it, like, I want to punch him in the face every time I see this. Like, use your shoulder. Nasty coughing guy finally catches the attention of the people on the bus, and they're like finally realizing this might be a big deal. So he's like, we should quarantine him, we need to get to the nearest precinct, and you guessed it, it's Precinct 13. Okay, so now my favorite scene is about to happen. That little girl and her dad just pull over to use a payphone, which I wish we still had payphones. I remember whenever, like, there were a few of them around whenever I was a kid, but they were starting to go away. And I was at this nursing home once, and I remember seeing on, like, a commercial about, like, dialing the operator and you can get any information you want. So I, like, dialed 0 on the payphone, and I asked, like, what do lizards eat? 'Cause I was, like, a huge fan of reptiles. So I just called an operator and asked them what lizards eat. And this was, what, 1996? So, let's see, I was born in 91. I was like 5 years old, cut me some slack. That ice cream man that was driving away from those guys is now like parked on the side of the road, and the little girl sees the ice cream truck. And while she's like walking up, that gangster, the Street Thunder's car, is driving up to the ice cream truck, makes another turnaround, man. And that would have been the exact point where I think most people should be like, yo, fuck this, I'm out of here. But the ice cream man decides to stay in this area and not tell the little girl to get back in the car with her dad and drive away because something bad is happening. I don't understand why this guy's still sticking around, because now he officially knows what's going on. He's like terrified now. If I was this ice cream man, I would tell her to get the fuck out. Go home. He actually does tell her that he's closed, but then she's like, the music's still on. He's just worried about these gang members, so he just gets her the ice cream really quick so he can get out of there. So the little girl gets her ice cream, and she starts walking away, and then the gangs show up. The gang members show up out of nowhere. They weren't in the previous shot. If you watch this movie, it's like the gang's not there in a wide, and then it cuts to the ice cream man about to drive away after he gives the little girl the ice cream, and then they're just there. Like Michael Myers. The Street Thunder gang member, like, grabs the guy by his bottom jaw and then, like, makes him deep throat his gun with the silencer attached to it, like a fucking weirdo. Then he just, like, changes his mind. So then the little girl's walking, and then she notices she didn't get the ice cream she wanted. The girl comes back to the ice cream truck, and the Street Thunder gang member is standing on the other side of the truck, but she's not looking in the truck, so she doesn't know that this ice cream guy isn't there. And then she just walks up. She's like, I want a vanilla twist! And then this fucking psychopath just, like, turns without even thinking, shoots this, like, 8-year-old little girl in the chest, and she just, like, drops. She just falls and drops to the ground. Doesn't make a sound, nothing. It's so uncanny, and it's just a weird way to die. In fact, like, almost everybody in this movie who dies or gets shot, they don't make sounds, and it's really strange. It's just like, they're like, yeah, I've been shot. Anyway, I still have some health bar. She didn't have any health bar. She's fucking dead. And then they just decide to shoot the ice cream guy, and he gets shot, obviously, and then the dad sees it and starts fucking running. So now we cut back to the bus with the sick prisoner. Everybody is rightfully worried that he might be contagious. This bus brings all these prisoners in. There's a bit of a conversation there, and they eventually lead to getting everybody inside. Bishop has his first very brief discussion with Napoleon, and there's sort of a mutual respect going on, and I'm not sure if, like, Napoleon knows who Bishop is, but I think Bishop just has this, like, sixth sense of realizing, like, Napoleon isn't all that bad and very similar to him in some sort of way, because earlier Ethan was talking about how he lives, he grew up, like, right down the road from this precinct. So now we have the Street Thunder gang actually catching up with the dad who's been running for, like, an hour. These Street Thunder guys are just crazy. So the Street Thunder gang is sort of like the prototype for Michael Myers in a sense. So these guys don't talk. They really don't talk at all. They don't even react whenever they get shot, like I said earlier. This main guy just gets shot, and there's like a whole shootout, falls over, and then dies. He doesn't gasp for air or anything. Maybe that's kind of the point that they were making, though, is that the street gangs are just like mindless killing robots or something. Maybe Carpenter just wanted these scary villains that don't speak, which he does really well in like a lot of his movies, which we'll get to, you know, figure out in the future. Dad killed the Street Thunder gang, and then he sees like they're all pissed, so they're all gonna come after him now. So he just fucking runs because these gang members just come out of the dark, like Michael Myers. And so he just runs straight to the police precinct, leading everybody to him. So the dad shows up at the police precinct, and he's pretty much in a catatonic state, and he can't really say a whole lot other than he's being followed and that his daughter was shot, which is understandable. It's an understandable reaction. It's like a serious reaction. It's like of PTSD where you can't just like really talk or say anything. You're just kind of in a fight or flight mode type of situation. But he says they're out there, and obviously the police officers have to check. So he just sort of looks out the window, this one guy, and the captain looks out there, and he's like, there's nobody out there. And then the phone lines go down because the gangsters cut the power off to the phone line so they can't call for help or anything. But they think it's because the precinct's being shut down at first. And now they're pretty much all inside, but not realizing this insane shit is about to happen. Of course, like, what's the next thing you're gonna do as a criminal? Obviously, they cut the power immediately. Even back in the day, if the phones go out and the power goes out, you're gonna be frightened. You're not gonna know what to do. Just like today, if like the internet went down for an hour, everybody starts losing their shit. And they start thinking they should just like live an Amish life for a little bit. So the captain goes outside to check it out for some reason, even though the dad literally just told him that they were being chased by gang members, and the phones just went down and the power went out, but he decides to go out unarmed. And then what fucking happens? Obviously he gets shot, like, with the silencers, so everybody just like reacts like, well, the girl who was looking out the window was like, heh, he fell over. So Bishop goes out to check on him, but immediately starts getting shot at. Bishop skedaddles back inside. Meanwhile, in the back, they're trying to take the rest of the prisoners back out to the bus, but then a shitload of people get shot, like four of them get shot, and they fucking die. Like, this scene gives me real Ghosts of Mars vibes, which I'll be talking about in my Ghosts of Mars video, because I'm doing all John Carpenter movies first in these movie reviews, because I love John Carpenter. He's like my biggest inspiration as a filmmaker. If you read any of my scripts, you'll see a lot of inspiration from Carpenter in that. I just really love John Carpenter. But the way this happens almost is exactly like a scene from Ghosts of Mars. So after all these people just got fucking shot, Napoleon tries to get the keys from Charles Cypher's character to get himself free, but he's brought back inside. Nothing goes unnoticed by Bishop, because Bishop's fucking badass too. And then he's like, but like, Napoleon got the key and he was hiding it, but Bishop's like, cough it up, man. And Napoleon's like, all right. He gives it to him like back really respectful, which is like, I really love the dynamic between Bishop and Napoleon. It's got a lot of unspoken eye contact, and it's just like facial expressions that show that there's some sort of mutual respect between them, because they're both outcasts in their own way. And I'm like pretty sure John Carpenter had some sort of statement about like that in the 70s. He was trying to work in there with a story. But anyway, like the fact that earlier that the story that Bishop said where he grew up a few blocks down the road from the precinct kind of matches up, that he might have some sort of unknown hidden criminal background. I feel like Napoleon might actually know that. So after that, the entire top half of the admin and desks are shot to shit, man. I mean, like, there's an insane amount of shooting in this scene, and it goes on for like a minute and a half. I'm sure Street Thunder has a shitload of guns and ammo. It's a situation that, like, after you're shooting 10 or 15 seconds, everybody there is going to be shot and dead, or shot and on the floor. But it went on too long, in my opinion, and I just think it was a waste of ammo on Street Thunder's part, but whatever. So then Bishop goes and checks through the window and sees that there's nobody out there anymore, so he makes this wise decision. He gives this woman a gun and tells her to stand by the window. And it just really lets me know that he didn't care about her. I thought it was funny that he had her stand right by the window. There was no reason to stand by the window. You just saw, there's like a whole shootout that literally just happened. You asked this girl with no experience to stand outside the window and keep an eye out. Just poke your head out and see. I don't know. I thought it was unnecessary. We know they're out there. Now, you know, I know what you're thinking. They're in a precinct in the middle of the city. Why don't you just book it to a really close store or house or something? But Bishop and Lee have a conversation about how far away everything is, and it's just like a housing community about 600 yards away. Crime was skyrocketing, so everything's closed and like everybody's moved out of these housing areas. So they are legit stranded. There's nowhere else to go. And there's a lot of undeveloped land around them as well, because they were still building, because this was the 70s, and you know, everything's always constantly being developed. And their precinct sits right in the middle of an area where there's not really anything. It goes down pretty much the way you'd expect, with the survivors arguing that it isn't safe. And then we see Street Thunder doing this like weird West Side Story number outside. They sneak around trying to find a way in. It's like some weird Warriors / West Side Story shit. It's like really funny to see. The gang members apparently mark their territory with blood, which is a death mark to let the others know to siege the place. Actually, one of the more terrifying moments in the movie. The woman wants to give up the dad because that's who they want. So they start shooting at the precinct, and then Bishop shoots them. They break in through the back, and the gang members shoot at Lee, and then she also doesn't react. It's so weird. Doesn't even acknowledge the fact that she just got shot in the shoulder. And I know there's like adrenaline and shit, but like no wincing of pain or anything. So then we see the classic Carpenter gun handoff where Bishop gives the shotgun to Napoleon, and then he starts shooting away, which is another sign of respect. Unfortunately, during this entire shootout, the other girl got shot. So after the shootout, they have some bonding time, and Bishop and Napoleon get to talk to each other. Bishop walks off and sees that there's this crate of explosives. I think it's like nitroglycerin, I think is what he says it is. So while that's happening, Napoleon goes over to fix up Lee's arm after she got shot. And she says it hurts like a son of a bitch, but she didn't fucking act like it. She's a robot, no doubt about it. So then they have a quick conversation about what started this, and they talk about the dad who came running in here, and they also mention something about the Cholo, which is the sign that they marked out front of the precinct, which is a big deal. Now the one dude's freaking out because the blood marking outside basically just means that these guys don't care about anything at all, and that they're going to do whatever they need to get in there. It's a really scary scenario. They all find out that there's only 8 rounds of ammunition between 3 guns, so that sucks. So these 2 police officers are in a cruise car, and they're talking about all the violence going on in the area because of the Street Thunder gang, and basically causing a ruckus because of the mass shooting that happened earlier. They get like a call on the radio, and they're like, well, we need to go down that road, don't we? And then the other officer's like, no, there's nothing down there. It's just Precinct 13. So they completely avoid that road altogether. So back at the precinct, they finally find this manhole cover that leads to the outside. There's a way to get to the manhole from the inside, so Napoleon and the other prisoner play this game of potatoes, is what I was talking about earlier. Instead of flipping a coin, they play potato, which is weird to see with these 2, like, criminals. I don't know, it's silly. So then we have the dad just fucking sleeping on the floor as everyone else goes out to the manhole. It's so stupid. This guy hasn't done shit through the whole movie except get everybody into deep shit. He hasn't even picked up a gun and tried to fight. So the one guy successfully makes it up past the manhole and makes it to the car, and he starts driving away, but as you can obviously suspect, he doesn't make it. There's somebody in the back seat and just fucking shoots him, and then the car crashes. So now the gang has to make their final stand in the precinct, and they decide to use those explosive tanks. Then they're gonna hook flares to them in order to like blow up anybody who comes through the hallway. Meanwhile, those 2 cops from earlier who were driving around doing nothing go to check out the precinct. And then they finally discover that some bad shit's happening because they see a telephone operator hanging dead above, and they realize something seriously fucked is happening. So they finally radio in for more backup, which is already on its way. And now we're back to the precinct. Now they're waiting for these guys to show up so they can blow them the fuck up. Street Thunder finally breaks in, and they start attacking them while they hide behind this giant sign that was in the basement. And these guys just fucking go to town on their hands, dude. They're beating the shit out of them with crowbars and all sorts of shit. And it's like a really long fight scene, and it looks really painful for like the hands. Like their hands are fucking broke, and like they're not even reacting. You kind of hear some yelling, but that's about it. So after 2 failed shots with the sniper rifle, Bishop finally shoots that tank at the end of the hallway and blows everybody up. And then the rest fucking skedaddle, and the police finally show up. So the help arrives, and they take the useless catatonic character away, and then they say to Lee that they have a stretcher waiting for her, and she gives him fucking attitude and walks out like she's pissed for some reason. I don't get it. They're literally just trying to help. Then Napoleon and Bishop have a quick talk one last time, just reestablishing their friendship. And they're basically best friends at this point, and Bishop has to walk Napoleon out to go back into cuffs and back into custody, and then they laugh about it, and then that's the end of the movie. Yeah, John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13. Awesome movie. One of his first movies. If you haven't seen it, I would highly suggest you watch it. Yeah, so watch this movie, and then watch the 2005 remake with Lawrence Fishburne and Ethan Hawke, because that's a good version too. I really like that version of the movie as well. They're both really good, in my opinion. It depends on what you're in the mood for. If you're in the mood for more of a... I wouldn't call this one a slow burn, but it's definitely older. You know, you can tell it's aged, but, you know, it's still fun. It's fun 70s action. If you're a huge Carpenter fan, you're going to love it anyway, and you're going to see a lot of similarities between his other work as well. But anyway, that's all I got for today. So if you like this, please obviously like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that notification button. And I will see you at the next video, which the next movie review I do is going to be Halloween. So until next time, I don't have a catchphrase. Please comment how I can improve these videos, because I really want to improve these videos for you guys. I'm really excited that I'm doing this. I just need a little more confidence at this point. It's been years since I've done anything YouTube related. So if you have any suggestions on how to improve this channel, let me know in the comments as well. If you have any suggestions on movie reviews, let me know in the comments below.